Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I have Joe Bains here all the way from London. He is a biohacker health coach and a stand-up comedian, and he's going to explain what that is. And we're going to talk about silent darkness retreats and psychedelics today. So welcome to the show, Joe.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, it's a crazy world out there in terms of psychedelics and darkness retreat. Just mental. Just yeah.
So before we even started recording, I asked him about his artwork on Shiva up there. We dove into like definitions of masculine, feminine, and what those energies are, and how they manifest in us as humans. So we already dove deep even before we started recording. So, what exactly is a biohacker health coach?
So a biohacker but you know what a hacker is? Hacks computer systems. A
Yes.
biohacker hacks biological systems, as in our cells. And so a biohacker is about how improving this being, making it better, anti-aging, increasing the health, performance, productivity, all that kind of stuff. And it came around about, I think about 15, 20 years ago, the word, because now we can look inside your body almost in real time. Like, so now we can take you into a lab. And for example, let's say I give you a cup of coffee, make a certain coffee, but we can see what that coffee is doing in your blood, in your brain, and, everywhere, right? And we can do it cheaply and, pretty quickly. Whereas like, 50 years ago, it wouldn't have been possible. And so now we can take that coffee and we can tune it to you. Like, let's say I came up with a coffee recipe, right? And I said, oh, this coffee recipe works amazing for me. And then you try and you go, it was okay. It wasn't anything special. But if you're in a lab, you can then take those ingredients and tune them and go, oh, actually, that does this in my blood and this has a different effect. So biohacking is the art and science of anti-aging, peak health, and peak performance. And it's a science because most of the research is coming out of universities and from private labs, and it's an art because even though we're all the same, we're all very slightly different.
Yeah.
So that coffee recipe would work great for me because I've tuned it to my body. But then you try it and you go, well, actually, if I increase this slightly and that one down slightly, it gives me a better effect because you're tuning it to your own body. So that's what biohacking is. Tons. A lot of the stuff in biohacking, by the way, is thousands of years old. But the difference is now we've been able to prove it in the lab and we've been able to tune it in the lab as well. Because yeah, so loads of this is like the coffee thing I was telling you about. It's really old. All this information is in ancient cultures, but we've just been able to take it into the lab and go, right, it works, but like if I tune it this way and this way, it gives me even better results. So that it's a packaging in the Western world.
Okay, so say somebody's looking for you to better their health, or, give me an example of how you could help them.
Well, so what I do is it's called a health makeover. So we sit down and I go, well, tell me your lifestyle at the moment. And then what we do is we take your lifestyle and we make small changes to it. Like for example, we could do this with you. Like what did you have for breakfast? What do you normally have for breakfast?
I don't always eat breakfast.
Perfect. That's a great answer. That's
When I'm hungry, if I wake up hungry, I eat something. If I'm not hungry, I'm drinking green tea.
that that is actually the best breakfast you can have. So you you already tuned. You're already tuned on
Yeah,
that front.
yeah. I've
Uh,
started the experimenting with intermittent fasting, and I got a October was just a crazy month, so glad October's over. But I got sick and I kind of got off of the green tea in the morning, but I really believe in honoring my body, and if I'm hungry, then eat something. And if I'm not hungry, don't worry about it.
Perfect.
Simple.
Yeah. Well, that intermittent fasting, it comes from fasting, but they took the fasting and put it in a lab and then see what was happening in the body.
Yeah.
And from that, because we got a lot more information about what's happening to the body during fasting, then out of that came intermittent fasting. So I do intermittent fasting as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but so yeah, so now we can, because the first 10 hours of a fast doesn't actually do anything.
Right.
There's no benefit to it. It's only
Mm-hmm.
when you go above 10 hours that it actually
Yeah.
starts having an impact. So
Yep.
that's why going up to 16 hours works, or 20 hours, or whatever it is.
Yeah, and
Um,
if any listeners out there are interested, really good books on this is Feast, Fast, Repeat and The Obesity Code. Those are good
yes.
starting books, right? Any other books you would recommend?
Um, I normally just get people to Google it, but I will send them like information, like some links on YouTube.
Yeah. That's
So
because we live in 2022 and no one's reading books but me. But I have to be thorough. Like I have to learn if I'm interested in a subject, I study it.
yeah.
I read about it, I take notes and like I'm still in school. So those are the two books that I read. And the interesting thing is I was introduced to, well, I've heard of intermittent fasting, but by another guest on the show, Fred Rutman, and he actually kept dying for a few minutes and coming back because he had these heart problems. And he said the best thing that for his health was the intermittent fasting. So he eats one meal a day now.
Yeah.
And his
Yeah.
cardiologist threw the book Obesity Code at him.
That's impressive. Yeah.
So,
Yes.
what do you want to
Yeah.
talk about first, Joe? Let's hear about the silent and darkness retreats. Like,
Well, the thing is, they're both linked.
mm-hmm,
Psychedelics and darkness the retreat. It's basically, so let me start with the psychedelics, because that then leads into the darkness,
okay, okay,
because they do the same sort of thing.
yeah,
Just the darkness does it without you needing any substances, and the darkness does it in a slower way. But it's basically emulating psychedelic. That's
okay,
the outcome.
okay.
So I don't know if you know. So I'm also from the world where say no to drugs. Drugs are bad. This is why they're illegal, because they're bad for you. They're evil. Don't do them, right? So I've grown up all my life saying no to drugs, right? Going,
Yeah,
no, no,
me
I'm not
too.
touching this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it was about 5, 6, 7 years ago, I ended up in hospital, like massive pain. I was disabled. I had diabetes. I was like finished, and they couldn't help me. Like I had nerve damage, all kinds of stuff, and they couldn't help me at all. But they used to give me all these pills, like 10 pills a day, painkillers mostly, and then the side effects from those painkillers, they'd give me more pills, and so like when they discharged me, I was still disabled, but they discharged me with a massive bag of drugs, fancy
Hmm.
drugs, and I used to read them. Do you know, like the leaflets inside? Oh my God, the side effects were horrendous. I was like, oh my God, this stuff is going to kill me. And even the nurse was saying, look, you got to get this stuff. It will kill you, because I was taking a lot of stuff. And I was looking for a solution, like, oh, I need to get of these fast, but I was in a lot of pain. And then somebody uh, said, look, cannabis. I was like, cannabis? And they said, yeah, I can get it for you. So they got me this cannabis, like it was a resin, and literally it was like this small, like literally a drop, but it was like 500 pounds, and what you did was I would dip a pin into it, put it underneath my tongue, and the pain would go away, and it would make me sleepy, so it put me to sleep. Like, whoa, this is crazy. And then I googled it, and it had zero side effects. I was like, this can't
That's
be
why it
real.
was illegal for so long, because it's actually good for us.
Yeah, but and my I so I had for some weeks I was in a you know dissonance, like where my brain I couldn't compute. It's like, well, hang on a minute, this stuff is illegal. Has
Yeah.
no like I Googled the shit out of this, by the way. Like
Yeah.
I was looking for the downsides of this, you know. I
Yeah.
did not find a single like nothing. I was
There
like,
is a
no,
downside. Now, some people can get addicted to
all
it.
right.
They
See,
get dependent on it, or the other downside is a feeling of paranoia, which really isn't pleasant.
I
Yeah.
okay. I didn't suffer any of it because I
Mhm.
took it for 2 months, twice a day. Because of the amount of pain I was in, the
Yeah.
only way I could sleep was to take these things. And so I used to take the cannabis, and it would make me really high if I took too much.
Mm-hmm.
I would take it twice a day, and it would put me to sleep. And and I did it for, I think it was 2 months, every single day, twice a day, right? But at the end of it, like I got to a point where I didn't need to take it, and I stopped taking it, and I forgot all about it. Do you know, like the drop that I had, there was still like 50% left in there. Yeah. And I
Mm-hmm.
would and I had it in the fridge. And as soon as I didn't need it,
Yep.
I even forgot where it was in the fridge. Do you know? Like it was at my brother's house, and I went back like some years later, and it was still there in the corner of that fridge.
Yeah.
And so for me, and as soon as I stopped taking it, that all the highs went away. My body just like it was like as if I've never taken it.
Yeah.
Like
And I think because you were taking it for physical symptoms that you were having, I think I just had a conversation with someone who feels like she's dependent on it for
oh,
her anxiety, and she knows that it's becoming a habit and she doesn't want to do it anymore. Um, so maybe for mental health, it could you could become dependent.
well, so there's just like in any other field, I've researched psychedelics a
Yeah.
lot, by the way, like a
Good,
lot.
good,
Yeah.
because I have questions.
Okay. So with the cannabis, there's different strains,
Yeah.
varieties.
Uh-huh.
So for example, there's two main plants. There's the indica plant, which is really good for to take at night because it makes you drowsy and it makes you sleepy. It's really good for repairing the body. And it's good for going to sleep and kills the pain and all that kind of stuff, right? And that's the one that you normally see where they smoke it and they're drowsy, right?
Hmm.
There's also sativa. Sativa is like a good coffee. It energizes you. It's really good to take like first in the morning. You can get loads of shit done and all kinds of stuff. And
Hmm.
there's like hundreds of varieties,
Hmm.
right, of cannabis strains, and some are really good for making love on, some are really good for entrepreneurship, some are really good for sleeping, some are really good for creative work, some are really good for this, like literally anything out there.
Yeah.
uh, there's a different strain of cannabis for it, and it's the same thing that applies to mushrooms as well. So if you're working on resolving issues around, let's say, trauma, then this mushroom is really good for that. If you're dealing with issues around, I don't know, financial stuff, this mushroom is really good.
Oh,
And
interesting.
again, yeah, so with mushrooms as well, there's hundreds of varieties and they all have specific purposes. So there's a lot of cannabis out there that does not create paranoia at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's like,
It
yeah,
all depends on the strain that you have. Interesting.
and also on your intention and also on why you're taking it. Like for me, the only reason I ever touch psychedelics is for personal development, nothing else. I just see them as rocket fuel for my personal development.
Hmm.
They will accelerate anything I do. Doesn't matter what it is. It's an accelerator for me. And
Have you, go ahead. Sorry.
so I'm always looking at it from point of view rather than as a recreational thing or rather than as a just a trip. Like
Right.
I prepare. So I used to spend like a week preparing for each trip. Now take a couple of days and I prepare the trip. I know what I'm doing in it. I know what meditations I'm doing. I know what incantations I've got. I know what exercise like I've got it like everything prepared. Like I
Yeah.
know what I'm doing in it.
And,
And I choose the right one for whatever I need.
and you do this by yourself, or do you have someone with you?
I I do it by myself. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't because I've done so many. Like maybe I've done like 50 or 100 mushroom trips. Maybe probably the same number of cannabis
Wow. What
trips.
about ayahuasca? Have you done that?
I've done about five ayahuascas.
Yeah.
I for me, I don't like the throwing up bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I
Uh,
wouldn't do it. I hate throwing up.
yeah, me too, right? But there's also another one called DMT, which is basically ayahuasca but purified.
Hmm.
And the beauty of DMT is that it kicks in really fast, like within 10, 20 seconds. And the trip is over within 15, 20 minutes.
Wow.
So it's fast. But it's the same chemical that ayahuasca uses, exactly the same, just in a more purified way.
I go on
Because
my own trips, but not on psychedelics.
oh, okay. All right. I've done some crazy trips on my own,
Well,
like a
I'm
lot.
sure that you meditate all the time. And I do shamanic journeys and soul retrievals. And the reason why I'm thinking about this is because it easily takes me 15 minutes, no matter where I go or what I do or what my intention is or what I'm trying to accomplish for my clients. It's always 15 minutes and it's always amazing because I did so much in that time.
Wow.
Yeah,
Great.
but I don't
Well,
do take any psychedelics. It's all
well, so way I look at it, for me anyway, is I'm doing something, right? It could be a incantation, it could be um, let's say making love, or it could be channeling, like in Tantra. So in Tantra, what Tantra is about is using sexual energy for evolving yourself. It's using sexual energy for growing yourself, for developing
yeah,
yourself. And sexual energy is seen as an accelerator, a fire to so whatever you want to do accelerates whatever that is. But so does psychedelics. Psychedelics is also an accelerator. They're able to accelerate whatever you're doing to whole new levels. Like
hmm
it's like
hmm
I don't know. Let's say you're trying to climb Mount Everest, and I give you like a jetpack, with bionic arms that allows you to climb faster or quicker.
hmm
Psychedelics are a bit like that. Like some psychedelics would be like putting a jetpack on with a booster rocket in it and go boom, straight on top of the mountain. So they're and also fasting. I don't know if you've done like long-term fasting. It also is an accelerator. So if you're doing any kind of
No, I don't do good without food.
I find women are like more like that. Men are more. I think because we come from the hunter-gatherer,
Yeah,
the men went out and hunted, and they could be gone for weeks and without any food. And so
yeah,
so for us, it seems more natural to fast,
yeah.
whereas women built differently. But fasting is a massive accelerator.
Right,
Uh,
especially for your health because it's so good for your body to take a break from insulin response, basically, which is what you trigger with any kind of taste in your
yeah,
mouth from food or beverage. So yeah, it's really good. It's just, I don't know, I've never tried the fasting thing for very long. Um,
it's a conditioning. Basically, let's say what I do with my clients is I ask them, like how long can you normally go without food? And some will say like 6 hours, and I say, okay, well, let's take it to 7 hours. And
Mm-hmm.
once you're comfortable, because I was the same. For most of my life, I needed to eat 5 or 6 meals a day. Like I would literally be running from one meal to the next. I was always hungry. And then when I became ill and I had to start learning to fast, I would start at 6 hours, like, okay, go for 6 hours, you know? And then
Yeah.
once I got to six, and then I would be like, take it to 8 hours, and then got it to 10 hours slowly, weeks later. And but when I hit 20 hours, it became really easy. As soon as I
Mm.
got to, I remember this is like 5, 6, 7 years ago now, but I remember it was a massive challenge to build myself up to be able to go 20 hours without food. Like it was
Yeah.
like really hard. I mean, I struggled. But as soon as I got to 20, it became really easy. Like once I got to 20, I could now do 36 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. It didn't matter.
Oh,
It was,
so
it was,
for a month I did 19.5. So I had like a 5-hour eating window. Oh, it was
nice.
hard. It was hard, and I backed off of it. And so now I kind of eat from 12 to 6 or 12
Yeah,
to 7. It's a little longer, but it's easier than the 19.5.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually the perfect window. That's literally all I'm trying to get my clients to is to eat between 12 and 6. That's it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Um,
And
because
part of it is I want to have dinner with my family. Now, if I didn't have a family and I was single, I'd probably eat like a massive lunch and be good. But that's not how my lifestyle is set up, and I want to have dinner with my family. So,
yeah. Yeah. Well, I have some clients that do, and they go, but I want to eat until 8 o'clock because I have dinner with my
yeah,
family at
yeah,
7 o'clock, and I'm like, brilliant, do that. You finish it by 8 o'clock, but you start at 2 p.m.
yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and I do that for myself as well. There'll be sometimes I meet colleagues or friends or whatever for breakfast. And then on that day, I might be eating at 8 in the morning, you know. But then what I do is I finish eating by 1, 2 p.m. and
Mm-hmm.
then I'm done, So
Mm-hmm.
I vary it. Like sometimes I'm meeting friends or colleagues or whatever for dinner. So on that day, because I know I'm going out somewhere and I'm eating somewhere, and I know I'm gonna have a big dinner, I won't eat for the whole day, and I'll just save myself for that dinner. That's it,
Yeah,
for that day. And then another day could be the breakfast thing. So I just have the breakfast. Like sometimes we stay in places and they have buffet breakfast. I'll be right. I'm having the buffet breakfast, and I'll have a big breakfast. But then I don't need to eat until the next day. Right.
yeah. I don't have that down.
All right. Okay. So
So, how
like
does the psychedelics connect with the retreat?
So psychedelics, what they do is like DMT, especially, it opens up the brain. It connects parts of the brain that aren't normally connected. So the way we look at it in basically the way I see them as a gift from God, and they're a way to connect directly with God. So in Eastern mysticism and all that, the idea is that we are always connected, right? So
Yes.
I don't know if you know what God is. God is basically you.
Hmm.
So or you can think of it as your higher self or your future self, or what do you want to call it,
Well,
right?
I like
Or
creator or source.
yeah,
Yeah,
creator, source, reality, nature,
because there are gods, many, many, many gods, or aliens that people thought were gods. There's a lot of those, but that's why I don't like the religious connection to that word, so I use source or creator.
yeah. So I think source is good. Source
Yeah.
works. So basically, you're always connected to source, right? The only problem is you're not aware of it. And what psychedelics do is they allow you to make you aware of it. They expand your consciousness and they expand your awareness so much that you become aware of this connection.
So
Um,
another way to do that, if you're familiar with Reiki, is in Reiki, we practice being mindful and aware of our connection to all that is, to universal life force, which is what Reiki means, universal life force. And so we practice a method of connecting to that energy, being aware that we are connected to that energy, and then we bring that energy intentionally down into our bodies and enter our hearts and out our hands. And then that's
Mm.
Reiki. That's giving Reiki.
Ah. So you can achieve the same through meditation as well. But
Hmm.
it just takes a lot of meditating, and it just takes a lot of time and effort. Like, I don't know if you've heard of Vipassana.
No.
No, so Vipassana is like a silent meditation retreat, 10 days, and you meditate 12 hours a day. And it produces a similar effect to psychedelics, basically. On day 5 or 6 or 7, you will have psychedelic experience. And basically, psychedelics just opens up all your consciousness completely, depending on how much you take. And I
Hmm.
mean, I've taken a lot. Like when I've taken, I've gone beyond God. Like I've gone to places where I didn't think it was possible to go. But anyway, yeah.
I want to
And
hear about that. Where have you gone that's
right,
beyond creator?
so I've been to a place where I am outside of uh, reality. So I'm looking at not reality, sorry, existence. So I got to a place, I took so much, I took a megadose of LSD, right? And it took me, so this is all of existence. It took me outside of it. I don't know how that happens. And when I was outside of all of existence was having an existential crisis where it was going, I exist, I don't exist, I exist, I don't exist. So it was coming in and out of existence all the time. And I
Wow.
was the one holding it together. And it felt like hell because it was like all of existence was having an existential crisis in my head about whether it should exist or not exist. And it was happening really fast. And it lasted like 12 hours or something. So, and I was scared. So I rang the ambulance because,
Oh.
so I rang
Uh-huh.
the ambulance. This is at 3 in the morning. I rang the ambulance going, look, if I fall asleep or if I fall down, existence will disappear. I was convinced that that all of that if I passed out or anything, that existence would disappear. But not only would it disappear, it would be like it never existed. You know,
But the
and
interesting thing is that you look at how we sleep. When we fall asleep, we're not conscious anymore, right? But we're still alive. We still wake up in the morning, most of the time, not everybody, but we still wake up in the morning. So what was out there like beyond reality? Did you see anything? Did you feel besides the existential crisis going on over here? What was going on where you were?
so the way I would break it down, it seems to be like from what I can figure out, the universe is like an egg or an onion. An onion is a better bet. The
Yeah.
universe is like an onion, and and we're in the center, and we go through different layers until eventually you break out into nothingness,
Yes.
right? And
Mhm.
so when as you start going up these levels,
Right.
these levels, as you go up, at first they make this reality more real or make change it around a bit. But if you keep going up the levels, then this reality starts to break apart. Like my hands would start disintegrating. This laptop would start. The environment around me would start waving and disintegrating. Like fractals.
Like it couldn't hold its form anymore.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you enter something called DMT. I'm calling it DMT space. So if you keep going up these levels, you end up in DMT space where you see fractals and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. And if you keep going up these levels, then you break out into another zone, I'm going to call it. And at that zone is flashing lights. So it's all flashing lights in there, right?
Hmm.
And also you can, in that zone, you can see galaxies as well. You can see planets, you can see stars, as if you're flying around in space, right? And but
Hmm.
if you keep going up, take more, you eventually break out of the whole onion completely, and then you end up in nothingness.
I think
Where
that
there's
I've been there. See, I was talking to you about that before we were recording. So I go there all the time.
okay. So
There's
so
not
you so
there's nothing up there but creator's voice and light. So I go for my clients and I said, Creator, please give me a color, a healing color for my client. And then I ask him for a message. And he hands me, or he doesn't have hands, but like a ball of light of a certain color. And then I bring the sphere of light down through all the levels back to this reality, into my client's heart, and I watch the color spread. I didn't learn this from anything. This is all intuitive, what I've done. But I think people enjoy it and it's useful information, of course. If you get a message from Creator, yeah, you're gonna listen, right?
so you have a gift, basically.
Yeah.
You have a
Yeah,
gift to
so
be able to
there's
connect.
nothing up there. I don't see anything. I feel Creator and I hear a male voice. Yes, I'm sorry, people. It's male to me. I know the Creator is completely balanced, female, male energies, but I hear a male voice and then it's just energy. It's just a level of energy. And then I come back down. And sometimes I stop at the angelic dimension on the way down because I'm familiar with that dimension too.
Well, what's the angelic dimension?
It's where the archangels and the angels
Ah,
are, and ascended masters are there too. And so sometimes I bring the sphere of light for their blessings. So sometimes certain angels will come and touch the sphere and add their color to it. And then I bring it back down.
because in our tantra school, they do a lot of meditations and practices around angels,
Yeah.
like a lot of stuff. Uh, Sometimes they have like a whole week where they just do angels meditations, connecting with different angels and things like that.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah,
when I first started meditating heavily was like over 10 years ago, and I had monkey mind. And monkey mind is when you can't control your thoughts and you can't sit there and you can't clear your mind. So I would do a lot of guided meditations, which helped me focus better. And then I did one on meet your spirit guide. So this woman's voice was guiding me, and she's like, your spirit guide is coming, and you need to look at that being. What did they look like? They're coming forward. Talk to them, ask their name, and it was an angel. And when I asked his name, he said, my name is Gabriel.
wow.
So in the middle of the guided meditation, I'm like, what? And that's what started my whole angel thing, but obviously I know I mean, I remember talking to Gabriel before I incarnated in this lifetime.
So your chakras must be very aligned and open, you know.
Lots and
Uh,
lots of lifetimes of practice,
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yes.
right? You don't
Yeah,
just
yeah,
come in and you
and
can
have
do
it.
this for no reason. And I tell these
Yeah.
to people all the time, like, you're talented at this because you worked at it. And that was the answer I got from Gabriel because I was like, I asked him, why can I see you so easily? Because I feel like other people can't, or they say your energy's too strong and they can't be around archangel energy. I've heard of people saying that, and they didn't believe me when I said I was communicating and around their energy. And he said, you have worked at this so much over many lifetimes, and that's why it comes easy to you now.
My
And I was like,
girlfriend is the same. My girlfriend's the same.
Yeah.
She can connect to energies like that. Like when I take sometimes I'll do psychedelics with her, and I take the psychedelic, and she feels it through me. So she's never taken them,
Hmm.
but she has just a strong effect, and she goes with me as if she's taken them, but she hasn't. So
That's interesting. I bet
yeah.
I could do the same thing. I mean, does she lay by you or does she hold your hand during it or how does she
Uh,
feel it through you?
which she's just physically very close to me, and so we could be hugging or cuddling,
Yeah.
and she's having the trip at the same time. But the thing is, like, for me to have the trip, right? I take the substance, and then I'll do some breath work and all that kind of stuff, and it takes like half an hour for the substance to kick in. Like for her, it happens instantly
Yeah. See, that's why I don't take psychedelic.
because it just happens
I don't
instantly.
need to.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. I wish I had your abilities, but I don't.
Yeah.
So I need external help at the moment. But I
Yeah.
have been able to achieve the same thing by doing meditating. But I
So
need to do a lot of meditating.
I teach Reiki and I teach other kind of spiritual classes. And my Reiki teacher told me, she said, Tina, you just go there. Like when you meditate, you just go. And if you're teaching somebody, you have to break it down for them because they won't be able to go there like you or I can. And so I've had to try to break it down for people because over 10 years ago, I would do like group meditations and we'd all do a group meditation together. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I saw all this and this happened. And everybody's looking at me like, I'm a weirdo. Either that, they're like, how are you doing that? How are you seeing all that? And I'm like, I don't know. That's what happened. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just meditating.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's I'm jealous, but you've done the work. I have to create the environment for me to be able to do these things.
Now, the
Um,
wonderful thing is that you have so much knowledge, and I'm definite if anybody is interested in healing through psychedelics, I'm passing them on to you because you've obviously done all the work and the research and everything. But say, for example, someone is suffering from anxiety, because I have a lot of people coming to me with anxiety issues. I mean, I know everybody's different, but what is really effective for anxiety?
well, I would first thing I would look as a health coach is I would look at their diet because your the what you eat affects your brain. So one thing I would get people, one of the biggest problems in the Western world is that most people are on this diet called the SAD diet. I don't know if you've heard of it, the
Yes,
Standard American Diet, and
which is the
that
crappy diet.
and that alone will cause depression and anxiety and all that kind of stuff. So what I first thing I do is try to move people away from the SAD diet
So
and
that's
get
heavy on the greens, right?
the
Um,
SAD diet is basically the SAD diet is processed foods and eating too many carbs. So what I do is I move people away from there. So my goal is to get them away from processed foods, and then also to get them to miss breakfast and to have their breakfast at 12. So
yeah.
those are the two big ones. So what causes anxiety, by the way, is eating sugar stuff and flour-based stuff. So sugar and flour, I try to get them away from. And then I get them to add uh, good fats. So your brain
Hmm.
needs a lot of fat. So I get them to eat like grass-fed butter, coconut
Hmm.
oil, avocados, ghee, extra
Hmm.
virgin olive oil, all the cold pressed oils like that. And once you start getting rid of the sugar and the flour, which is bread and all that kind of stuff, pizza and all that, and you start adding good quality fats, you'll notice that naturally you're much calmer, and your anxiety gets less and less, and your depression will get less and less as well.
Wow. And I
So
really am a big believer on animal fat. I've got a bottle of ghee next to my stove, and
me
that's what
too.
I use. And
Yeah,
actually, I do stay away from the oils, like even olive oil, because they can go rancid.
very
Um,
easily. Yes.
so man, I love butter. Just use butter, butter and ghee and lard, which is hard to get actually here.
In the UK, it's quite easy to get. The beauty in the UK is that lard, beef fat, duck fat, goose fat, pig fat. Not many people eat them here, and so they're really cheap.
Oh, see, I
So,
can't find lard. I've
oh wow.
looked.
Okay. I mean, because I buy like jars of lard for like £1 or £2. That's good quality
Oh
lard
my
as well.
God. I
It's
don't know
cheaper
even
than
know where
butter.
to buy it here.
Ah, well, where are you, by the way?
I'm in South Carolina, which is in the southeastern United States. So which is surprising because, they love fried food and stuff down here, but maybe I'm not looking in the right place. But they have Crisco oil, which is soybean, and that's not the same thing. That's not what you
A-
want.
anything like vegetable oils is really, it's
Yeah.
carcinogenic. It's really bad for you. So my goal is to get yeah. So my clients like sugar, flour, anything flour based, and anything vegetable oil. I get them to eliminate it from their diet, add good quality fats in, and once you do that, then you become naturally healthier, calmer, and if you have anxiety, that starts to disappear as well. So that's the main thing. That's what I would tackle. And
Yeah.
the other one is just getting people to journal. Journaling is really powerful. Like
Yes,
when
I
you write
recommend
down
that all the time.
and once you write down your thoughts, then they make more sense. Because if I'm just playing in my head, oh, she doesn't like me, or he doesn't like me, or like all that kind of stuff going around. But once you write it down, you're like, oh, that's a bit ridiculous, isn't it?
Well, the other thing, it's a transformation process.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is you're transmuting the thoughts, putting it on paper. So it's like you're pulling your thoughts out, putting on the paper, and now they're on the paper now, and they're not in your head anymore.
And they make a lot more sense as well, like or not, as
Or
the case
or
may
or
be.
you just get it out,
Yeah.
somehow you get it out instead of letting it run in your brain 24/7. But so many people are resistant to reading and journaling, and I'm like, if you want to get better, you got to try these things. And I'm sure you're recommending it because it worked for you and it's worked for me. I've journaled since I was in sixth grade. I had books and books and books, and most of it was like complaining or outlet stuff. So I didn't keep it. But anyway, it's something I've done since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
a journal for everything. I have a tarot journal. I have a general journal. I have I have my book notes that I take notes on my books. And then I have like the everything journal that sits on my desk while I kind of write notes while I sit here or during the podcast, the episodes, so I can figure out what I want to title it. So I got the everything journal.
Wow.
So, you know what? I'm kind of curious about the silent retreats. I think I would like to try that because I I think it would become interesting after a while without all the distractions and knowing how I am, where am I gonna go after a while?
Well, the most powerful meditation I've ever come across is Vipassana. They have it all over the world, so there'll be centers near you. Basically, it's 10 days, completely silent, and all you do is meditate. That's it.
How do
And
you
it
spell
has
that?
Vipassana.
Okay, Vipassana.
I do it about once a year. So I've done 5 now. And for me, it's the most powerful thing I do. And what I would also recommend is not is skipping breakfast.
Yeah.
They give you breakfast, which is cereals and toast and shit like that.
The
Just
sad diet.
yeah, the sad diet. I don't even go into the kitchen area for breakfast. I just get my green tea and go and meditate.
Yeah.
And when I found it the most powerful, one of the Vipassanas, I did it fasting. And that is even more intense. So it's like it intensifies it. I find fasting is like an accelerator to any spiritual stuff I do. It accelerates everything I do. So it's a very powerful thing. So yeah, if you're gonna do a Vipassana, fast, really good.
Yeah, I'll look into it. I don't know. I
I
don't know if I can do 10 days.
Oh, you don't have to do 10 days, but like, maybe eat once every other day, have lunch once every other day or something.
Oh, I
Just
mean,
to
just the retreat, like a 10-day retreat. Don't know
oh, I
if I could
see.
get away for that long, but
Ah, right. See, I book it months in advance, so I've got one booked in January that I'm gonna go on.
yeah.
And so I book mine's like months in advance, and then I plan around it. I go, right,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's blocked. Because it's 10 days, but you need about 11. So I block that time off, and boom, it's sacred.
So
But it is
what are the benefits of the silent retreat? I mean, what kind of are you getting aha moments? What's going on during the 10 days?
so the first time I went to do it, it was 2014. I came across it. I don't know. I can't remember how I came. It was a woman. That was it. She was telling me about it, and I was like, my eyes were light because I was in a dark place, like a really dark place, dungeon place. And I was depressed. I was eating the sad diet, 5, 6 meals a day. I was, anxious. I had like everything. Everything was wrong, and I didn't like me. I hated me. And so I went on this because when the way this woman explained it to him, it was like, this is what I need. And it was the equivalent, because you're just you by yourself, and it's just you in your little world. It was the way I would describe it. It was like being like somebody putting a straitjacket on you and putting you in a padded cell with the Incredible Hulk. And basically, because I hated myself, I tunneled the shit out of myself. Like it was a battle, basically. So by the end of it, it was like I'd just been 10 rounds with Mike Tyson or something. So I didn't really do much meditating on the first one. It was just me beating the shit out of myself, right?
Yeah.
But I realized how powerful it was. So as soon as I came back, I booked the next one. I think it was in 3 months' time or something, and I was gone again. And the second one was the same. It was just me sitting in darkness and tunneling the shit out of myself in my head, just being. And but I managed to do some meditating, right? But I knew it was
That
incredibly
sounds rough.
powerful. Yeah, it was. It was hard. It was really hard. It was like being put in a ring with Tyson and going, right, kick the shit out of him, right? And it was just, but that Tyson is you, kicking
Right,
the shit out,
right.
you know. But the third one, oh my God, the third one, I was at a point where I could meditate. And the third one was insane. Um, so one of the things your mind does, it doesn't want to meditate, right?
Yeah,
And so what your mind will do is then try to trick you into not meditating. So on one of them, I think it was the second or the third one, I can't remember, but on day 2 or day 3, my mind puts me in the penthouse, the Playboy mansion,
yeah.
right? And so for the whole day, I'm every time I close my eyes, I got a full color visual video, like I'm watching a movie of me in the Playboy Mansion having orgies, for
Oh
the
my
whole day
God.
in full color, right? Because it doesn't want to meditate, right? So I'm just sitting there in all these orgies
Is this
in the
another
Playboy.
lifetime that
I don't know, but it was. and I knew it was just my mind trying to stop me meditating. And so for
Yeah.
the whole day I had that. But then the next day it disappeared, right? It went away.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And then your mind will create pain in your body, back pain, shoulder pain, you name it, you headaches, whatever you call it, right? All of those manifest because it doesn't want to meditate. But by day 3 or 4, it eventually sort of caves into you, and then you can start doing some real meditating. And by day 6 or 7, oh my God, you get an aha moment,
Mm-hmm.
like a big aha moment. It's insane. It's like breaking through the onion, and you
Mm-hmm.
come out, you get and it breaks through to the nothingness, and then you can see it. Like it's almost Vipassana is like, imagine you're in the onion, and I give you a drill, and I go, right, drill your way out, and you're drilling your way out, and that's the Vipassana meditation, is you're drilling, and you
Okay.
just keep drilling, and you just keep drilling day in, day out. You just keep drilling until eventually it drills through, and then suddenly you break through.
So
It's like,
are you alone the whole time, or are you
yes,
meditating in groups?
you're
Nothing
you're
like that.
meditating you're meditating groups, but you're alone. So you're
Mm.
in your little own bubble. You're not allowed to look at other people. You're not allowed to talk to other people. They are in their own little bubbles. So you don't try to interact with them. They don't try to interact with you, because you don't want to ruin it for them, and they don't want to ruin it for you.
But
So you're
still,
so
energy wise, you would feel the other people. Did you feel
you
what was
you
going on with
you
the other people?
you would. I didn't.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would
yeah, you would.
for sure.
Yeah, but for me, I just created a bubble around me, and I was alone. There was just me.
Yeah.
So
Well,
uh,
I could go and sense what's going on, but I could also do the bubble thing where no, I'll pull in my energy so I don't get any information. That makes sense?
yeah.
And when I need information or somebody asks me to, I push my energy field out with the feelers, and that's how I get the information.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I teach people how to pull their energy field in, like empaths, so that they're not all the way out here picking up all this extra crap that they don't need to know or feel.
Mm. See, I have no problems pulling it in. My problem is pushing it out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you need the psychedelics, because the psychedelics is expanding you
Yes, that's
because
it.
maybe
Yeah.
you're naturally here.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think with practice, you could do it.
Yeah. Yes, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
I, yeah. Well, the other thing with the darkness retreat, it simulates ayahuasca.
So how long is the darkness retreat?
So the one I did was 7 days, but having done that 7 day one, I would recommend, if anybody's going to do one, to do a minimum of 14 or 21 days, because the 7 days just gets you into it. And then to really enjoy, to get the maximum out of it, you need, I think, a minimum of another 7 days. Because the way it works, your brain, so DMT is produced by your brain all the time, especially when you sleep. So when you're asleep, your brain starts producing DMT, but it gets consumed as well. And what ayahuasca does, it increases the amount of DMT in your brain, which is what then allows you to connect to the source. What darkness does, so if you sit in complete darkness, I mean like where it's pitch black, you can't see your hands, anything, right? If you sit in pitch black, the brain, because you're in darkness, your brain starts producing more and more DMT. And the longer you sit in complete darkness without any light source whatsoever, the more DMT gets produced. And so what I found for me, um, when I was in complete darkness, the first day nothing happens, right? So I'm navigating. I'm in a studio flat, but it's in complete darkness, and so I've got access to toilet, showers, and all that kind of stuff. One of the things you lose track of is time. Like 10 minutes later, you don't know whether it's 10 minutes later or 10 hours later. Like you have no idea. And the other thing starts happening is you're never alone. Do you know that? You would think like in complete pitch darkness, you'd be in complete pitch. It's not. There's lights everywhere. And the lights get brighter the longer you stay in there. So I used to do a lot of yoga in the darkness,
Hmm.
and I knew where the wall was. And so what my brain started doing is it would create a light source behind me. You know, it could be a red light source or a blue or one of those colors or white. And then that light source is coming onto my body and then creating a shadow on the wall. So this is complete pitch blackness, and I can see my shadow on the wall. Yeah, so it's insane. And then these lights would appear around me. You know, by day 5 or 6, if I could see more and more. It's like you're in fog when you first in there, and then the fog gets thinner and thinner and thinner, so you can see further and further away.
Yeah.
And so the lights and everything gets brighter. And one of the things I noticed was that, well, that was it. Some of the meditations I did were where I was imagining bright white light traveling through me, but in complete darkness, you can see it. So I could see this light like with my eyes. So I could see the bright lights that was in my center that I had created. So I could see all these lights, that I was creating.
Hmm.
But I could see them with my eyes. I don't know if that how to explain that. And then it felt like what it looked like it was slowly revealing to me was that it was like I was on a stage, like a theater stage, and those were the lights, and they would come on at different times and different colors, and it was like I was an actor on a stage at a play, you know. Um, Yeah, that's the best. And I have read about, other people doing 20 days, 30 days, 40 days, and they end up talking to their higher selves or God or the angels or whatever you want to manifest out there, in the same way that we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
So there was a woman I read about that she'd done 40 days in complete darkness, and she'd spent weeks talking to a higher self, to angels, to all kinds of beings, like as if you were having the conversation, like this.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
have conversations like that.
okay, then you don't need to do the darkness thing either. You see the amount of work I have to do, right? For you go, yeah, okay, let's start. Done. All right, let's start.
Yeah.
Me, I have to travel to another country, sit, hire a flat which is in complete darkness, sit in there for weeks, right, to be able to achieve the same results that you can do in a matter of minutes.
Yeah. You're really working hard at it. Let me ask you something. I saw a TikTok video from a psychic medium, and I just reposted it on my Instagram account. But she talked about how she believes that our thoughts are not ours and that we are simply receiving thought from somewhere else according to how our vibration is. So if our vibration is high, we'll hear the positive, but if it's low, we'll hear the negative. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I actually, so we are like a receiver, like a radio antenna,
Yes, yes.
and we can tune. Actually, there is some science behind this, by the way. Let me see. Yeah, so so every cell in our body is alive. Yeah, and every cell in our body has receivers, right? And they are tuned. All the cells in my body, for example, are tuned to a certain frequency, and all the ones in your body are tuned to a slightly different frequency. And so this is why, one of the reasons why, like if I took some cells from you and put it in my body would see them as a foreign thing and reject them. This is why we get this rejection, when we move cells from one body to another, because the receiver is tuned differently or wrong,
Yeah.
in a different frequency. And so, and they've actually found this in the cells. Like there's some biologists that have actually found these. I think they call them like identity receptors.
Hmm.
And so every cell in our body is receiving like a signal. So we're just like a TV or a radio. We're just receiving signals from elsewhere. So our consciousness is up there somewhere, and it's plugging into us through this frequency.
Hmm.
There's a name for this. I think it's called epigenetics. That's it, yeah,
Yeah.
epigenetics.
So many people think they are their thoughts, but you are not your thought.
Yeah. Well, there's a meditation you can do, which is where you just sit there and you go, I'm not this body. I'm not even this mind. I'm not this body. I'm not even this mind. And what it does, if you keep doing it over a period of months, you'll suddenly see that gap. Actually, there is a gap between me, the I am, and my thoughts and my body.
Hmm.
Once you see that, and it's only like a small gap, but once you see it, you go, oh, then you experience that you are not your body or your mind or your thoughts.
And let me ask you about how Creator created everything. Was it a thought? Was it
So
an
in
emotion? What was it that started it all?
so according to my experiences, going up in the psychedelic world and also Kashmir Shaivism, the whole of the universe is a thought in God's mind.
Yes.
So God is only mind. There's no body. It's just, and that mind is consciousness.
Yes.
And and so the way to look at it is you can think of God as a tank of water, like a full tank of water, and consciousness is the water, but that tank has no outside, and that tank doesn't end. So it's in size, it's infinite. And in that tank of water, the universe is basically a drop. And in that drop, you're basically a drop.
Yes.
And so the way so a human being or any other being it's like going into the ocean and getting a glass and putting some of that water in the glass. So that's now our body,
Hmm.
but you're from the source, you're from the ocean. And
Yeah.
your soul, or whatever you want to call it, is basically a vessel containing consciousness or a soul.
Yeah. So do you think there are multiple creators?
According to Eastern philosophies, right at the top, which is called non-duality, there is only one, and that is just pure consciousness, and it's
Hmm.
completely still, and that is like that is existence, and that's what is the ocean. I'm calling it, right?
Yeah.
But within that ocean, that creator, that one, has created many.
Yes.
There's like it's
Yeah.
created almost like an infinite number.
Yeah.
So there's Shiva, Shakti, there's Krishna, there's Rama, there's like, and the list is, I think, endless,
Infinite. So
infinite.
there
That's it.
is a creator of this universe, but there are other universes with other
Yes,
creators.
that's it.
So you might
Yes,
enjoy these books by Robert Shapiro. He's a channeler, but he has done books on what is the name of it? The Explorer series. So he talks about how we are part of the creator and we're training to take over creator's job. And when we get enough training and learning and experience, this creator, this universe is going to go somewhere else where we're not sure where he's going to go. We're going to take over. And he talks about the multiple creators and the consciousness of even star constellation, which I get a kick out of. And also, he talks about how this creator of our universe consulted with other creators and beings to create this universe. And one of those beings is Isis.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is
Yeah.
like the mind-boggling stuff that you could totally sink your teeth into because I know you'll get it.
Well, according to there's an experiment going on at the moment. I don't know if it's completed or not. But what they're looking at, they're monitoring the sun, right? And they're trying to figure out, this is like a group of scientists, and they're trying to figure out whether the sun is conscious,
Yes,
right?
it is.
And
And it's a portal into this universe.
mm, so there's a theory, and I can't remember the name of it, but everything is conscious. So the sun
Yes,
is conscious, the earth is conscious, the moon is the stars are conscious, and
everything.
everything, yeah. And they're trying to, so what they're doing is they're monitoring all the frequencies from the sun to trying to see if they can detect that it's conscious. There's some, I can't remember I don't, this was years ago I looked at, so I don't remember the exact, but there is some sort of formula that will tell you whether it's conscious or not. Some sort of,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so some of Robert Shapiro's books talks about the creator bringing in negativity to the universe, and that other creators and consultants, for lack of a better word, like ISIS, were saying, this is not a good idea. I think you're in over your head. So he talks about the personality of this creator and how he loved variety, for example. And he was bringing in all these various beings to be on in his universe and on this planet. And so it's just so fascinating.
Yeah, because the thing is, like let's look at it from the point of view of the creator, right? So all of existence is the creator, and all of existence has always existed, and it will always exist, right? And it's infinite in every direction. It's also
Hmm.
infinite in size. It's infinite in energy. It's infinite in what it can do. Like, and so imagine you're the creator and you are infinite in every symmetry, right? And
Hmm.
you've got an eternity. You can't die. You
Yeah.
you were never born. You're never gonna die, right?
Right,
What are you gonna do? Right?
right.
What are you gonna do? You're just gonna play. And imagine you can do anything and everything. So your play is just gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger and more and more complex, you know? So
Yep.
I don't know where it ends, but like imagine like you've always been here and you're always gonna be here. Imagine you're sitting in your bedroom there, right? And you've always been sitting there on the laptop in your bedroom, and you've always gonna be there, like forever, you know? What are you gonna do? You're just
Right.
gonna be creating all kinds of wonderful jigsaw things,
Yeah.
writing
So
programs, you
that's
know.
how I think it started. I think non-duality, the being was hanging out, that consciousness was hanging out there all fine and dandy. And then all of a sudden it asked, there's got to be something else. And that's where creation started.
Yeah,
And it just keeps going and going, 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 going.
and it's infinite, you know, like I I study quantum physics, and I've been trying to conceptualize in my head what it must be to be infinite and to live in infinity where there's no time, no space, and everything is infinite in every single way. And I can't do it. My brain just goes divide by zero error, divide by zero error. It's like my
Interesting.
my 3D brain isn't able to comprehend and conceptualize infinity. It just
I
can't do it.
think
I've
I
spent,
think I can. I
oh, you
think I
may be able
can
to cope.
go hang out in nothingness
No,
and
I can do
be
that, but
okay with it.
I can't, like, if you know, imagine if I said to you, imagine I don't know, like a doll's house, right? And you could imagine the doll's house and being around that, in the going into the doll's house and all that. Well, I'm trying to do that with infinity. I'm trying to conceptualize it and be, and I can't do it. My brain won't
Yeah,
stretch that far. It's like
it's
my brain
difficult.
is, yeah, it's like my brain is 3D and I'm trying to imagine 5D. Do you know, like, and it just can't be done. But
Yeah.
not for my brain anyway.
Well,
And
it's difficult because we don't have all our awareness. So, and we can't because we'd probably be paralyzed if we could remember the 1,000 lives that we lived on 20 million planets. It's just
mm,
too much information. It's just too much. So it's really for us to function here and we can access it, but not all at once in the body. Well, maybe someday we could. That'd be
maybe, yeah.
cool, but not right now.
No, we need a few upgrades. In yoga, they talk about the Big Bang,
Yeah.
but in yoga, they call it the Big Roar. So at the beginning, there was a word. The word is Om. And out of
Yes.
Om is the primordial sound, or because it's made without using anything. And out of that Om comes all the other sounds. So so that's the Big Bang. Om is the Big Bang,
Yeah.
and according to some yogis in Ayurveda, not in Ayurveda, in yoga,
Mm.
they reckon that we've had 83 Big Bangs so far. So this universe has gone through 83 iterations,
Wow. Mm-hmm.
and apparently, I don't know where they're getting this information from, but the the end result is that something big is going to happen when we get to, I think it's like 127. So once we reach, so with these big bangs keep happening until we reach like 127 or something, some number like that. And we're at
And then
83 at the
what?
moment. I don't know. No idea. No idea.
Well, I have to tell you, there's very few people I could talk to about this, which they would get it. So I
Mm.
thank you so much. I'm so glad we met. And if you could share how people can find you online and your services, and that would be great.
Yeah. So I'm Joe Bains. Joe Bains Comedy is my comedy side, and you can just Google it anywhere; it'll come up. And then on my biohacking health coaching, it's effortless biohacking or biohacking by Joe Bains, or you can just go on joebains.com. So that's my website. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. So on
Yeah,
YouTube, I'm just Joe Bains. So I think you can just Google me and he'll find me.
yeah. Find this guy. He's got a lot of knowledge, like a lot. Yeah. So, so much fun talking to you. And I hope we talk again because I could talk about this forever.
Yeah, it just goes on.
Right?
Yeah. I don't know if you've come across Sanskrit. Have you come across Sanskrit?
Yeah, I know Sanskrit and just, all right, do you know how to read Sanskrit?
Yeah, I'm learning to read it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so hard, but I'm loving it. So basically, if my bed, it drives my girlfriend nuts. When she comes home, like the whole bed is covered in like pieces of paper where I've been writing Sanskrit.
Wow. So
It's
some
just,
of the Reiki symbols do have a Sanskrit foundation.
oh, do they? Ah,
Yes, they
okay.
do. They're
Yeah.
not just Japanese, they're Tibetan and Sanskrit. So their foundations come from actually Bon shamanism as well. So there's a lot of Eastern philosophy wrapped
Ah. Well,
around that.
one of the things I want to start is a podcast on or a video blog on Eastern mysticism and
Mm,
Sanskrit. So
Hmm.
that's one of my goals, because I've been in Sanskrit for like 3 years, and it's the language of creation. So I want
Yes,
to
it
get it
is.
to a
I heard it
yeah,
was so ancient that when you say the words, that something happens. It's the
yes.
vibration of saying words in Sanskrit that has power. So, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, my girlfriend is like you, extremely sensitive, and so when she hears Sanskrit, energies flow through her body. Right?
I bet.
So
Maybe I
yeah,
should listen to Sanskrit. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
know.
definitely, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
what I've got, what I've got here is, this is because I do stand-up comedy. I This is my speaker that I travel with, and what I've got recorded in there is I've got Sanskrit chanting.
yeah.
Um, so it just plays it, and she listens to it, and I listen to it like in the mornings or something.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah,
Well, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try and see what feelings come up when I listen
yeah,
to Sanskrit.
yeah.
So,
So listen to
yeah.
some mantras or some chanting on YouTube. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, thank
brilliant.
you so much, Joe, for being on the show. It's been so fun. Hopefully, people were able to follow us.
Yeah,
And if not, you know what? Listen to the episode again.
exactly. Yeah,
Maybe you'll
yeah.
get more of it or follow us more. But thank you for so much for being on the show.
No, thank you very much. I've had an awesome time. Namaste.
Namaste.